We are back in Indy. The Big Ten season, of course, will end here. The football championship game December 7th. 18 teams beginning their journey over this 3-day period. All 18 hoping for a return visit 4.5 months from now. And Guy will be presiding over this season and that championship game. The commissioner of the Big Ten, Tony Petitti, is with us. Tony, let's talk about the Big Ten championship game first, because you made a pretty exciting announcement yesterday, which is that the Big Ten championship will be continued to play here through 2028 at least. This has been such a great sight. I mean, I know as someone who's been to all 13 of them, it's been amazing. Why is it that you decided to continue this partnership?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the history is a big part of it, and the success the game has had here in Indianapolis. So that was an easy part of it, the experience in doing it, the commitment from the city, the staff, everybody here really embracing the game. It was a really competitive process, especially as the league, has expanded. The geography of available sites definitely grew. But we just felt like at this point in our history, like the next 4 years, this is the right place to be.
While we're on the topic of where things are going to be, the basketball tournament, we're still kind of awaiting some dates on that. When do you expect that we might hear about that?
We're pretty close. I think, I would say next 30 to 45 days or so, we should know where we are.
Okay, fantastic. You mentioned the expanding league. It is clearly the biggest topic of conversation. And in the times that we've interacted here, really in the last year, as you've been going to try to get from 14 to 18, I know how enmeshed you have been in all of the little details of making this happen. When you see it start to come to its fruition, as it has here, really today in some ways is the first day that we see it with UCLA and USC here. How do you feel seeing it go from kind of this hypothetical to a reality?
Yeah, you're 100% right. It really makes it feel real when you see the logos next to each other and you see players coming from the 4 new members and student athletes here all kind of interacting. So, for us, it's been real. We've been doing the work every single day. Schedules across not only football but every sport, meeting with coaching groups, talking to everybody, including them. Officially, they come in August 2nd, but you're right, this is kind of the big welcome party for our new members. And it does bring it to life. We're really excited about the upcoming fall season, not just in football but across everything. Obviously, this gets the most attention. And so I think we're positioned really well. The scheduling work that was done, I think when you look at the quality and the depth of the matchups, it's pretty spectacular. We're really, really pleased about what we're going to see this fall.
It's interesting because this is the third expansion now that we've been through at the Big Ten Network, and there was so much discussion about making those schools feel included right away from a conference point of view. I mean, we've done it obviously as a network, but I'm saying coming from the conference office. So what do you do as a conference to make UCLA and USC and Oregon and Washington feel like from day one you are part of this?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is all the behind-the-scenes work. They've got to be a part of that work, right? They don't officially join until August 2nd, but in terms of the work and scheduling and involving coaches groups, when I'm on calls with coaches, it's all 18, right? So we've been including them for the last several months. So the first thing is you've got to make them part of the process. And so when we're making decisions about a lot of different topics, they've had a really important seat at the table. So that's number one. Secondly, each campus gets to embrace it in a different way and how they interact with their students and the student athletes across, and the marketing piece and obviously social media, all of that. There's a lot of content coming out of these few days in terms of you'll see the league coming together. So, everything there has been going really, really well. But it's really, to me, the key is they got to feel like they're part of the decision process. And, that's been going on for quite a few months now.
How much time have you spent at each one of these campuses? Can you even calculate it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been out much. Like I think the big thing for me is what I'm really looking forward to most is being to a home conference football game. So I think the plan is to get out and be at every, at least each place to experience a Big Ten home game for new members.
Some amazing atmospheres, as I know you are well aware of. It should be fantastic. You talked about scheduling, and I think if there was one question when all this kind of went down initially, that people were focused on, it was like, how are you going to make this work for the student athletes? And the football schedule had a lot of publicity around its release, and there was so much that went into the travel and making sure that it was minimized, it wasn't onerous for any particular school. There was a lot of kind of thought that went into each one of those components of it. But it felt like the ultimate test was going to be some of these other sports, particularly some of the Olympic sports. And some of these schedules have been released a little more quietly here over the last couple of months. So for people who haven't seen them, help them understand maybe broad brush, 30,000 feet, what the decision-making process was there.
I think you got to start to really understand that every sport is unique. Each sport has its own rhythm of regular season format. Each sport, I think people just assume you play every team. We've got lots of sports that don't have all 18 members playing. So that's one thing to really point out to everybody, that that's not the case across every sport. And then on top of that, each sport's got its own rhythm of a regular season, and each sport's got its own postseason. Is it an all-comers tournament? Is it less than all-comers? How many do you bring to your baseball tournament? We don't play a tournament in volleyball. So there's lots of different things about the way we schedule each sport. Obviously, travel is a big piece of how we interact in the regular season. I will tell you that, and I've said this a lot over the last, several months because I get asked this question a lot. It's, we've got to do a good job of learning from this year. Like, we've put a lot of things in place in a relatively short time. You have to remember, a lot of the work was done to integrate USC, UCLA, and those schedules were built, and all of a sudden we added Oregon, Washington. We basically had to start over in every single sport. So that had all four. So we needed to do that. And so I think we'll learn a lot from how we actually play. And one thing that I think staff and our athletic directors is, we care about the feedback from coaches and student athletes. We got to keep an eye on everything we're doing, learn from it, see what we got right, hopefully most of it, and then make the adjustments where we need. So it's probably really unlikely that, in 3-4 years, every format that we're doing now will be exactly the same. I would think that would be unlikely. I mean, hopefully it's most of them, but, you can't promise that.
So you had this little matter of adding 4 schools, the largest expansion in nearly 130 years in the history of the Big Ten. And, oh, by the way, the landscape of college athletics is changing so dramatically while all of this is going on. So I do want to shift to kind of some of the big picture stuff that's going on in college sports. I think one thing that we're all really excited about is the expanded CFP and all the opportunities, not only for new schools to get into it, but for new schools to be in the discussion as we head into those final weeks of the regular season. Help me understand, from your point of view, where you think this will be most advantageous for the Big Ten.
Look, I think it's going to make our regular season even better. I think the point you made, Dave, is really critical. You want as many teams competing late in the season for a chance to play meaningful postseason games. And, 4 out of just roughly 70 in the A5 is a pretty small number, right? Compared to what you see in professional leagues, and whether it's 14 out of 32 making the postseason or 12 out of 30 in some leagues. Some leagues are half their teams making the postseason. So we had a very small number, and we've got a lot of really good teams that deserve an opportunity to play. And so this will get us on the right path of giving more opportunities. And the benefit of that is what's going to happen, I think, in November. More teams grinding to the end of the season for that opportunity to get in the field of 12. And I think we're going to show very well. But I do think it's going to have a real impact. And the best thing, postseason should work together with regular season. That's the point of them, right? You go on a journey during the regular season with the goal of making the postseason. Those things have to come together to make sense. And that's what we're focused on. And I think this step at 12 is a really great step. And we think it's going to help our regular season. I think when you hear the coaches talk over these next couple of days, that's what they're playing for. They're playing for a chance to get in this tournament.
So you have all that going on, and then you have all kinds of legislation about the future of college sports. You had the House case settlement, at least a outline of it being discussed here, the implications for revenue sharing with student athletes. I know it's impossible to summarize all of that in a minute or two. How do you see the landscape of college athletics kind of coming to a place now where it settles into something that's workable?
Yeah, I think the word you used, settled, is a really important one, and workable, right? We needed something that was sustainable. We needed it to be something that schools can be organized around, that makes sense, that provides the benefits that student athletes deserve. I think we've gotten to a place in the settlement, assuming it'll be approved by Judge Wilkin going forward. If you look at it, student athletes will have the benefit of their scholarships and educational benefits, and they'll have the opportunity to have direct benefits from their institutions, which is really good. And the last piece is they'll have real NIL deals. When you put that together, that's pretty powerful. And so I think at the same time, we've preserved the connection to education, right? So I think all of that is a more rational system. And what I like about it is that the people that we get to work with every day, the administrators, the coaches, they're going to have more say in how we do this with our student athletes. So I think that's a really welcome change to getting back to making these decisions on campus, making them at the conference level, doing it across the NCAA. All of that is a really good thing. I think the last couple of years have been difficult in terms of trying to manage and be sustainable and get to the right place. So look, we've always felt in the last year especially that we were going to get to a place where student athletes were going to get more. We just wanted those benefits to flow directly from the institutions, and that's what the settlement does.
I think one of the things that maybe gets lost in all of it a little bit is the games, right? I mean, there's been so much talk of all of this other stuff, but it is such an immensely popular sport. As we know, college football and college basketball and all college sports as well, but football obviously being front and center. What are you most looking forward to on the field this year as you try to put all that other stuff aside?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just unpredictable, right? We've got new schools, you've got new quarterbacks being broken in different places, and the competition and a schedule that's going to be very different. So I think that part of it, and when you combine that with the stadiums and the fan bases that we have, and you put that all together, we're going to get some spectacular results all across the board. So I'm really excited about the new schedule. I just feel when you combine that with the TV exposure we have, on Saturdays and some Friday nights, I think we're just really well positioned to take advantage and showcase, the quality games we have. We have a lot of really deep matchups across. It's been pretty remarkable to see, the quality of games like week in and week out now in the Big Ten. It's going to be really competitive.
Tony, so I have one last question I have to ask you. This is the question I perhaps have gotten the most from Big Ten fans given this expansion. What happens to the Big Ten map commercial?
Okay, well, I learned very quickly in this job that there's a lot of passion around the Big Ten map commercial. So I would say to fans that we understand and we get that. So more to come.
So you're not tipping your hand.
Not yet.
But you're just saying that there might be some sort of map commercial.
I've learned a lot
future.
about the map spot over the last few years, over the last 12 months.
You had no idea what important issues you were going to
This one gets a lot of love.
Tony Petitti, really appreciate it.
Thank you,
as always.
Dave.
Thanks so much for
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Spending some time with us. Great to be with you as well.